Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. So today what we're going to be doing is taking a look at all the cases I've received so far. So this isn't actually all of the cases I have. Some of the ones that were basically ruled out of this particular video were the ones where they're either too low quality or basically they were missing things like the cutout for the LiDAR sensor. So basically the iPhone 12 Pro Max, obviously received it today finally, and what we'll do is we'll start to chuck some cases on. So starting from these top ones and also some of these bottom ones, basically we're going from sort of thinnest and lowest protection through to basically what my wife's going to be using on hers, which is this one more than likely, and this is basically the one that she's used on all her recent phones, which is like the most protective. So starting from the left hand side, these ones are basically just thin sort of shells, if you like. And the idea with these particular cases is it's just scratch protection. Now, the one thing that I have already noticed when using these particular cases is that for some reason, even though I don't have no skin or anything else applied to the phone that could potentially make it a little bit wider, what you'll notice, not so much on this side. So on this side, your buttons they're slightly recessed. So normally what happens is, I don't know whether this is just a design change from Apple or what the reason is. Let me just turn that brightness down a touch. But the buttons just don't seem to stick out as much. And one of the problems is that the cutout isn't quite straight. So it's obviously too far to the front of the, to the back of the phone, meaning that the front of the button isn't actually fully accessible. But also it's still a little recessed. So even though this is still a very, very thin case, it's still obviously too thick for the new, basically the width of the buttons that are on these now. Other than that, basically it does go all around the camera lip. Now some of them, what I also noticed was not this one, but some of the other ones, they don't actually fully cover the camera, because when they've designed these, obviously this is months before the phones actually come out. So this is basically when they were first announced. And basically, even though they've got pretty much everything else right, so if we take a look at the bottom, holes are pretty much almost perfect. So if you look from this side, it's slightly offset, but when you get to this side, it's obviously improved. But obviously the issue is that obviously it's not a very nice experience in terms of pressing the buttons, unlike these cases in the past. So in the past, these particular cases wouldn't actually have that issue. So they'd line up perfectly with the buttons, and basically as soon as you put your finger there, so I can actually feel a sort of divot in the case. In the past, that wasn't the case. You wouldn't actually have any sort of basically drop off. And one small tip is, if you do ever get these types of cases, don't get into the habit of taking off from the bottom. It is easier, however, because obviously it's a really thin bit of plastic just there, it will end up breaking. So the best option is, even though it isn't very elegant, take it off from the top, and that way it won't actually damage the case. So this case, this one is basically just the grey version. Let's just have a quick look at how this particular one fits on. So power button on this one is pretty much identical. Volume rockers aren't too bad. It's not great on the silent switch, but it's manageable. And same thing again. So as you can see from here, the cutout for the charging port, the lightning port, is not quite perfect, which is why these ones are also then slightly off as well. So rather disappointingly, because these are normally my sort of go-to cases when it comes to iPhones. Okay, so that's both of those two. Now these ones I'm a lot more happy with. So these are these sort of reflective soft touch cases that that I've been looking for quite a while. And the good thing about this particular one is, firstly, it fits perfectly. So let me just lock that. So all your buttons and everything are really clicky. So great feedback. You can easily access your silent switch. Not overly happy about that being open, but it does make it a lot easier. Take the case off, and also same with these slits. Without these slits, I don't think you'd be getting this case off once you put it on. Around the back, just bring it in a bit tighter. So yeah, so as you can see, if I bring that perfectly level, you can see that it's not quite covering all of the cameras. So that's just something that obviously they've not taken into account, the fact that the 12 Pro Max is going to have such a big lens in terms of not only the size of the camera module and the individual rings, but the fact that it protrudes out so much more than all of the other models, as well as obviously in comparison to last year's models as well. So these three are basically identical, so they fit in exactly the same way. Now this one, so these kind of cases I usually hate. I mean, when you're looking at it, you can already see that it's clouded, it doesn't look very nice. But I'm so torn with this case, because once you've actually got it on and you've clipped it all around, and even around the back, it's like, if I can get that to focus in, you'll see that they've got cutouts, and it's all a bit wibbly wobbly. It's not fully seated down. Obviously, by going so precise with the cutouts, it does mean that basically if it doesn't quite sit, and heat and temperature and general use is going to obviously affect this down in time and down the years as well. But the thing about this case that's basically got me so kind of confused, if you like, is the fact that it is the most grippy case here. So with this case on, there's no chance you will be dropping this phone. It is literally so grippy all around. Now that's both a positive and a negative, because right now, obviously, like I mentioned in my unboxing video for the iPhone 12, my hands are incredibly dry at the moment because of being at work and using industrial cleaners. So usually once, and obviously over time, as the oils from your fingers actually build up, silicone cases tend to actually become a lot more slippery with that scenario. So I mean, even from the front, you can see it's not a great screen protector, by the way. I will be doing a sort of coating on top of this, if not completely changing it, because I think in my rush I actually got 2 little bits of dirt trapped under the screen protector. But yeah, so this particular case, I literally just ordered it, so then it's a spare case that I can throw on just in case I want something that's totally clear. But yeah, it's got me in sort of two minds as to whether I use it or not, because of what I mean. Once it's on the phone, luckily for this particular phone, because it has got a sort of blue tint to it, it does actually, it blends in quite nicely. I don't think it'd look as good on the gold one for that simple reason. So this one is just a simple silicone case, blue silicone case. Chuck that on, and this one is basically, let's have a look. Yeah, so we've got more than enough camera protection. Buttons, they're reasonable. They're not brilliant, they're not terrible. And our cutouts down at the bottom, let's take a look at those. So yeah, it's not bad, it's not bad. And we do have some lay on the table design with this one as well. And obviously if you wanted to, you could put a little sort of lanyard rope through there as well. So that one, I mean, I don't think this particular case was very expensive. I think it was only a couple of quid, so not too much to that one. Now this one's a bit special, because even though this looks very ordinary, and it probably looks very similar to the Apple case, obviously without the MagSafe, but what this is it's actually glass. So this sort of center back, the back piece, it's not plastic, it's actually glass, which makes it very, very hard. Let me just bring that into focus. It makes it very, very hard to get the case off once you've got it on. So I may need to do a cut to this video just to save you guys having to wait around. But the brilliant thing about this one is, so when you do have greasy hands, glass actually becomes a lot more grippy, and for the most part, as the more you use the phone, even if your hands are dry like mine are at the moment, it's still going to leave some of the oils are going to transfer, and over time that's going to build up more. And So weirdly, with this particular case, it'll actually get more and more grippy, but it just has that feel of glass rather than being plastic or silicone or any other type of material. So this one, I do actually really like it. I don't know whether I'd be using this at work or anything like that, for the simple reason that obviously it is glass. But if I was to just rock a case maybe around the house or something where I just wanted to show off the color a bit more, then this is an option. So obviously, yeah, this time around it's come off a lot easier. Last time when I tried pulling it off from the top, obviously with it being glass, it's not going to be overly flexible, so you do have to be a bit careful when you're taking this out. Now, one thing while I'm actually going through all of these cases that I want to just comment on, I've seen a lot of people, whenever they're removing cases that are really difficult to take off, they'll push through on the camera lens in order to push it out because that's the only part they've got access to. Please don't do that. The amount of reviewers, YouTube reviews that I've seen where they've got fingerprints all over the camera lens and then they're comparing photos against other cameras. I mean, come on, like, how are you going to compare photos when your camera lens isn't even clean? Hey, right, coming on to the next few. So these ones I've actually featured in a sort of unboxing video, an earlier one that I actually had. So this is basically, so this is a copy of the one that I use on my 11 Pro Max. And basically this is what I use for work, and the main reason for that is I really like how tactile the buttons are on these particular cases. So they're really clicky. These are the I believe on Amazon there's a very similar case called Tozo. I'll put a link for that in the description below for anybody who just wants the case quicker. Price difference isn't massive, so this I believe was around £3 or £4 off AliExpress, and obviously I had to wait for a month or two. Off Amazon I believe it's only about £7, so it's not massively different. With this one obviously you have a protector on the inside as well as the outside, so it is a very good case because obviously I've used these exact cases for over a year on my 11 Pro Max as well as some of my older ones. It's a good case for work because it gives you the color, it gives you brilliant protection around the sides. This one does give you enough camera protection, so you've got no worries about laying it down anywhere. And the sides are really grippy as well as being really clicky as well. So this is probably what I'll be using for the most time when I'm actually at work. But like I say, I've got plenty of options here now, and that one in particular, the blue, is one that I really like. Right, coming on to this one, this is basically the exact same thing as that. The only difference is this one is obviously clear, and I did comment in my initial video that obviously this one wasn't as clear as I would have hoped, but even though it doesn't work very well on my phone, I think this might actually work very well for the gold phone that I've ordered for my wife. So it's just another option, another look. This one, strangely, isn't actually as grippy as the black one. So if you are looking for one of these cases for work and basically working somewhere like a factory, that sort of environment, and you need something really grippy, I'd suggest going for the black rather than the white or the clear. This material, it just doesn't have the same sort of feel. The white is smoother, I'm guessing, in order to try and achieve that sort of opaque look to it. This one doesn't actually have any protection in the corners. I believe it was that one that does actually have some extra protection in some of the corners. I'll just quickly throw this one on. This isn't one that I would actually use on my phone. This, once again, I'm not sure what's going on here. This is one that I basically ordered for my wife, just as a protective case, really. So down the bottom, that looks okay. Buttons wise, it's actually pretty good for a silicone case. Pretty clicky. With this one, the thing that I personally don't like is obviously they've gone for these sort of bezeled edges and this sort of fake leather on the back. It does actually have a kind of leather feel to it as well. It's not one that I'd use. It's one that I'd probably give to either my wife or possibly my kids when I actually pass this phone down next year when I upgrade to the 12S or the 13, whichever one it is. So I won't bother putting this one on because this is basically a two-piece case, so you have to actually remove this, and the more times you remove these, the worse it gets. So what I'll do is I'll showcase this one with the gold phone. Now coming on to the replica silicon cases, I don't know why I keep calling it silica. So chuck that one in, make sure it's pressed in. So this one, it is a nice contrasty look. I'm not sure whether I would actually be using something like this. The red is very, very bright, as you can see, but the blue one on the flip side, and the one thing, I don't know whether it's just the fact that I've taken it off a few times, but it does seem to come off very, very easily, which could possibly be a bit of a worry. Just clip that on. I do actually have some more of these coming, by the way. I've got actual, not actual MagSafe ones, but some more replicas that actually have the magnets in them this time. So that's a look that I would actually be quite happy with. Now the one thing about this is it is a bit linty, so it's a case of whether. Usually what happens is I'll put it on and I'll use it for a little while, and then eventually I'll just kind of get fed up of it, and basically just all the lint, and plus it does become quite slippery, even though it is silicon. So obviously it's not the same sort of silicon as what Apple would probably use, because most of the reviews for the genuine cases are really good in terms of how grippy they are. Buttons, got no issues with those on these. So with both of these replica silicon cases, you don't have to worry about the buttons. But I think out of all of these cases at the moment, the one that I'm going to be using is, well, actually, let's try this one on and see how it looks. This, once again, is something that I think on the gold one would look even better. The thing I've noticed already is you don't really get that same sort of reflection of the color of the phone on this one as you do on the gold or the white. It's just not got that same sort of pop to it from the front. Obviously you get more of a color on the back as a result. It's okay, but that's not a look that I would personally rock. Let's just have a quick look at the black. I know this video's gone on way longer than I initially wanted it to, but right. So that's the black one. This is a nice stealthy kind of buttons, once again nice and clicky. Loads of access for the silent switch, and down the bottom this one, yeah, looks okay. So that's not actually too bad. This one, if anything, it feels a bit slipperier than the blue one. The blue one's probably, and the blue and the red are the most grippy out of all of these ones. So in terms of just being able to get these ones on and off quite easily, whilst also being extremely grippy. Now the one thing that could possibly work against this particular case is, even though I usually put it into my pocket this way, so whenever I'm putting the phone into my pocket, what I do is, so for example, that's my pocket, I'll put it in this way, so only the screen is actually touching like the leg part of the pocket, and this part is basically effectively on the outside. Now it's a case of whether this is so grippy that as I take it out of my pocket, it starts to pull the pocket out with it. That could possibly get a little annoying. I'll just do a quick test now, and yeah, it is a bit grippy. So I'll have to wait and see how that goes. But out of all of these cases, I think obviously that one for my work, that one, the glass one, not that one, sorry, this one, just because of how good it feels having actual glass there, and possibly this one because of how grippy it is. But like I say, because of I know that this will definitely fade, it will change colors in the sun and all sorts. So yeah, out of all of these ones, my favorites at the moment is these particular cases for grippiness. The silicone case I do like, it's just too linty for me at the moment, and it's probably more a case that I'd use around the house, rather than when I'm actually at work. For work, that case is probably the best for me, and it's probably the one that I'd suggest for most people as well. I'll try and put as many links down in the description below as I can. Anything that I can't find on AliExpress anymore, I'll try and find an Amazon link or equivalent Amazon link for you, and I'll put that down below as well. So yeah, that's it for today. I will have more videos coming, so if you haven't already done so, please do subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.